Friday, the last preseason game, the Niners are going to be playing their starters. So not just Brock Purdy, he's going to have other starters around him. What would you like to see from the 49ers in this final preseason game?
Actually, I'm surprised they're going to play the starters in that game. Usually in the last game, you don't. But here's what I'd like to see. I have very definite ideas. Number one, I'd like to see Brock Purdy, for as long as he plays, really be good.
Yeah.
Be efficient, throw a lot of completions, throw no interceptions, not get hit, not be under pressure. That would be number one. Number two, I would like to see the defense, if they're playing the starters, really stand up against the run.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that. That would be number two. Number three, I'd like to see the offensive line be better than C+.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be the three things I'd like to see.
I'd like to see that too. I mean, the run defense in particular. First of all, Brock Purdy, he's a very good quarterback. He hasn't had a very good offseason. Doesn't mean he's not a very good quarterback, but like it's almost time. I feel like with this team and this coach and this, he should be able to have one good drive against the Raiders in a preseason game. That's not a lot to ask. And the run defense has been an issue for more than a year. So let's see that you improve. You've added all kind of new players to the defense. Through 2 preseason games, the numbers have been awful. I think they're leading the league in missed tackles. So show that that's an aberration. Starters are out there. Stop the run. It's the Raiders. I couldn't even tell you who their running back is.
Are the Raiders going to play their starters?
I have no idea. Even if they did, would it matter? I mean, they're terrible.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are certain teams in the league that just suck.
Yeah.
And the Raiders just suck. Now, if they end up being over 500, I'll take it back. But I don't think they are going to end up being over 500, Iggy. Yeah. I really don't. That feels to me like a doomed franchise. And, now that they've left Oakland, I don't ever think about them anymore.
Yeah. I want to see the 49ers play with like some type of urgency and passion, because it feels like they've been sort of sleepwalking through the offseason, and they're allowed to because they're so good. If any team can just turn it on, they're one of them. But at the same time, you wonder, like, are you guys a little burnt out? You've played so many games the last 3 years. You've come so close. I mean, I'd like to see that they're not burnt out, because there are so many teams in the NFL with a lot to prove.
Yeah. I think they'll play very hard against the Jets.
Yeah.
The question is, how much do they have?
Yeah.
By the way, I think they will beat the Jets, but hold on. If they don't have Trent Williams, I'm not going to pick them to beat the Jets. I'm going to say I simply don't know. I don't know what they are without Trent Williams. Whether or not they have Aiyuk, that wouldn't affect my evaluation. I think if they have Trent Williams, they will beat the Jets. I think Robert Saleh is really doing a good job on defense. He doesn't have a clue about offense. His offensive coordinator is a nudnik. It's that, what's his name? Nathaniel what? Hackett? Oy, Gewalt. And his quarterback, I don't know. He seems like a strange guy. Doesn't he seem sort of strange?
And he's 40 and he just tore his Achilles.
Yeah. And he's not going to make it through the whole season. So, but having said all that, I do think that they're going to beat the Jets. I think they'll bring it for that game. It's a home game. It's a Monday night game. I think they'll get up for that game and win. How they're going to stand in the whole season, I don't know, if they don't have Trent Williams. And again, I don't see Aiyuk as nearly as important as Trent Williams.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't have Trent Williams out there and Brock Purdy gets hurt, that's not Brock Purdy's fault. That's Kyle's fault. That's the organization's fault. How did you put your quarterback behind that offensive line? So they have to have Trent Williams. I agree, he's going to be out there week 1. But what's interesting is, like you said, do they feel they have to have Aiyuk? I mean, they already tried to trade him to New England and Cleveland. They had deals in place with New England and Cleveland, and Aiyuk said no. So what's interesting is, what if this little standoff with Aiyuk actually bleeds into the season, a week or 2 or a month, and they do just fine without him? That would really hurt Brandon Aiyuk's position.
And I think that's what the Niners are talking about. They're saying to themselves, we're going to be either as good or almost as good without him. We don't want to get into this big fuss with him. I think losing him is not significant. Losing the left tackle is like losing the quarterback, Iggy.
I absolutely agree. So it's interesting. Let's say Aiyuk isn't there week 1. Trent Williams is. Purdy plays well. Niners win. Good news for the Niners, bad news for Aiyuk. Or let's say Aiyuk sits out a week. They lose. Purdy doesn't play well. Now, okay, Ayuk's position gets better, but Purdy's position next year gets worse. Like, maybe I'm not worth $60 million. You take Brandon Aiyuk away, and all of a sudden, I'm not that good. Like, it seems like one way or another, the Niners save money because Brandon Aiyuk sits out.
And it seems that the whole deal is fluid.
Yeah.
Constantly changing. It's constantly changing. And it'll change after game 1 if Aiyuk doesn't play. It'll change either for the Niners or for Aiyuk. It's very hard to say how this is going to go. And what's interesting about it is I don't care about the contracts. I find it really boring. But this deal, how things could change after game 1, is fascinating.
Right. Because Aiyuk thinks he's like determined his value. He like will talk to other teams. They've made offers. He thinks he's worth whatever, 28, 30, whatever. But if the Niners win a bunch of games without him, then all of a sudden his value is way less to them. Or if Purdy's efficiency tanks, then Aiyuk's value goes up and Purdy's value goes down. Like, talk about fluid situations. Those two guys' market value. It's to be determined.
Well, right. In fact, we'll learn a lot in game 1, but we won't learn everything.
Nope.
No, we won't. And I want to say another thing. I think Brock Purdy is a very good quarterback.
Yes.
I love to watch him work. No way in life is he worth $60 million a year.
It's the problem.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I agree.
He's just not worth it.
Yeah. And the problem is, it's the same problem with the wide receivers. Like, Aiyuk isn't worth $30 million a year, but then you start pulling up other wide receivers who are making that money. You can argue he's just as good. Well, Purdy isn't worth 55, 60, but freaking Tua's getting it. And I think Brock's better than Tua, so that's the market. And what do you do? Well,
right.
They got a year to figure it out.
They got a year to figure it out. And Iggy, what I want to say is Miami is overpaying for Tua. Tua is a C-plus quarterback.
I agree.
He's a C-plus quarterback. He'll fail in every big game.
I agree.
And
so I'm not saying the Niners need to devalue Brock Purdy, but if he somehow devalues himself over the next 12 months, that would probably be good for the 49ers.
Yes, but Iggy, I don't think he will. Let me say that. I really like his work. I don't think he will devalue himself, but I allow for the possibility. And if he does, I'll change my opinion.
Right, because the question with him is, we know he's really good when he has an all-star cast, but he won't have that cast when he's really expensive. So what if you take away 1 or 2 or 3 players? Well, what if McCaffrey's hurt week 1, Ayuk's holding out, and he only has Debo and Kittle and Juszczyk and Jennings, and he struggles? Then all of a sudden you're like, maybe there is something to this. Maybe we still need to see more from Brock. Or if he plays well, it's like, no, he's a real deal. It's a real deal.
You included Juszczyk in that group?
I'm sorry, I take it back. As I said it, it sounded. I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this right now. I felt stupid. I was like outside of my body, looking down. Like, is he saying this right now? It's crazy.
Now, look,
thank you for calling me out.
Juszczyk, I never met you. I'm sure you're a very nice man, and I bet you're very interesting. But I'm sorry. At this stage of your career, I don't put you as elite on the Niners or absolutely necessary. I apologize.
You wouldn't call him an offensive weapon with that one catch a game that he has?
I would not call him an offensive weapon. What I would call him is the team mouthpiece. I think when he retires, he should go into the public relations department, because what happens is, I know how it goes. Everybody's in the press box. The game's about to end, and really not a lot happened. So you need a quote. Mm-hmm. You need a quote for your story. Let's go to Juszczyk. Did Juszczyk do anything in the game? Is he relevant to the game? No. But he's articulate. He went to a fairly disgraced now Ivy League school, known among other things for its anti-Semitism, and not saying he's an anti-Semite, very clear, but we need a quote. Oh, he'll talk about anything. So I think actually he's an extension right now of the public relations staff.
How much do you want to bet when he retires he's going to end up working for NBC Sports Bay Area with Dante Whitner?
He'd be very good.
He'd be very good.
But hold on. And this is Whitner too. Jeff Garcia was actually critical, so they got
Yes.
rid of him. Apparently, they got rid of him for that. Whitner, who can be very caustic, is very positive. We know he can be caustic, but he's very positive. And Juszczyk, he's got this smile. He's got a great smile and good teeth. He's got very
Yes,
good
he
teeth.
does. Yes,
he
he
may
does.
have had orthodontia. We don't know. He has very good teeth. And he and Dante Hittner will they're really great, and they're trying hard, and they practice hard all week. And even though they lost, this was good, and this was good, and this was good. That's how I think they would. That's how I perceive that they would be. I don't think Juszczyk would say, "Man, that offensive line really sucks." I don't understand, Kyle, why he did that. I wouldn't think he would do that.
Didn't someone on that station cry on air after they lost the Super Bowl? I heard.
There was a person.
Allegedly. There was a weeper.
Allegedly.
I mean, it was a very emotional moment. Marty Doberman says, I want to see everyone walk off healthy. Hey, from your lips to God's ears.